Her parents sold her due to infertility. Then the Dark Alpha King appeared at midnight. In the stillness of midnight, the air thickened with a tension that crackled like 1,000 storm clouds overhead. Shadows danced playfully among the trees, bending and twisting into figures that seemed all too human. That's when Lila's heart began to race, pounding against her chest like a caged bird desperate for freedom. She was no ordinary girl. She had been sold, traded away by the very people who were meant to protect her. Infertility had crippled their dreams, leaving her to pay the price of their bitter disappointment. Every night was a whisper of danger. The townsfolk regarded her with a mix of pity and disgust as her parents buried their shame in the dirt, while she wrapped herself in layers of loneliness. Her world had become a stage for rumors, tales filled with sinister promises and dark enchantments. They say she bears a curse, the old women clucked in corner cafes, clutching their coffee cups like lifelines. A dark magic awakens with the blood of the sacrificed. Lila had long stopped believing the stories, though deep down, she felt the weight of every cruel glance, every hushed conversation. But this night felt different. As the clock struck midnight, an unearthly howl echoed through the trees, causing a chill to snake its way up her spine. It was a sound unlike any other, rich and deep, like the voice of an awakening king, commanding the very earth beneath her feet. The darkness felt alive, pulsating with a strange energy, beckoning her to step closer. Suddenly, the moon burst forth from behind clouds, illuminating a figure cloaked in shadow. The Dark Alpha King? She could barely breathe. His intense gaze locked onto hers, and time stood still as the forest held its breath. How had he found her? What did he want? The tales spun in her mind like a fever dream. Would he save her? Or would he seal her fate once and for all? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The creature loomed closer, and his voice was a low growl that tickled her ear, a sound that resonated like a dark melody. You're not meant to be here, little one. Panic clawed at her chest as she struggled against the weight of his words. She stood on the precipice of an unfathomable adventure, her life spiraling into the unknown. The forest shifted, shadows stretching and twisting as Lila's thoughts raced. What had she done to deserve this? Was she truly a pawn in their game? Her heart pounded louder, every beat a contradiction of fear and curiosity. She had to know, would she be saved from this grim fate, or would the darkness consume her entirely? The chill of fate pressed in around her as the king took another step forward, his presence electrifying. What awaited her next? The Dark Alpha King drew close, his presence dominating the clearing like a storm cloud overhead. Lila felt her breath catch, every instinct screaming at her to flee. Yet her feet remained rooted to the ground. What do you want from me? She managed to whisper, her voice trembling in the still air. He tilted his head, studying her, those piercing eyes filled with an intensity that danced on the edge of danger. The way the moonlight caught the contours of his jaw made him seem almost otherworldly, a predator trapped in human form. Your blood is not just the price of your parents' mistakes, he replied, his voice smooth and velvety, coaxing yet feral. Calls to me. Fear knotted in Lila's stomach. Blood? What did he mean? Was this about her so-called curse? Her fingers twitched, the memory of gasps and whispers echoing in her mind. I am no one's sacrifice, she said, her voice gaining a fierce tremor. But doubt crept in. Answers were needed, and these didn't come from the ones who had failed her. The Alpha King chuckled softly, that sound reverberating with menace. Yet here you are, drawn into the darkness. The forest knows your name, Lila. You belong here more than you think. Suddenly, the wind howled through the trees, sending leaves spiraling around them like a tempest. It felt like a living thing, as if the world itself was unveiling some dark secret. The ground beneath her trembled, and she felt the sharp pull of destiny, a gnawing sensation that maybe all those tales weren't just fables. Caught in the grip of overwhelming curiosity and fear, she took a hesitant step forward. What do you mean? She breathed, almost afraid to hear the answer. What is this place? Why am I special? The king's eyes glittered with a predatory light. This forest blooms with ancient magic. It feeds on your anguish and pain, your hope too. You are a vessel, child, intertwined in a fate greater than your own. The curse the townsfolk speak of, it's in you. Lila recoiled, her heart pounding erratically. All her life, she had been told she was worthless, but this? To be anything more than a victim of circumstance felt like both a burden and a flicker of salvation. No, I am just a girl. Just me, she insisted. But as her voice faltered, uncertainty crept in, igniting the possibility of power she had never considered. Just you? He echoed, eyes narrowing. You need not play that role anymore. With a forceful step, he closed the distance, and Lila's breath hitched as she felt an electric charge between them, a magnetic pull that scared and thrilled her in equal measure. Embrace your birthright or let it consume you. A strange sensation began to bloom inside her. Warmth intermingled with the chilling dread that had become her reality. Could she really control it? Could she wield some sort of power over her own fate? The king's dark offer hung in the air, lingering like a fading echo tethered to a choice unmade. Silence enveloped them, a heavy blanket stitched with anticipation. Lila could feel the weight of destiny pressing down, begging her to say yes, to unlock secrets she had only heard whispered in the dead of night. But at what cost? Choose wisely, young one, the Alpha King warned, those words dripping with seductive danger. For once you accept, there is no turning back. The forest murmured around her, a chorus beckoning her to take that crucial leap into the unknown. But could she truly have the strength to face whatever lay ahead? Would embracing her fate lead to her salvation or destruction? As the air crackled and swirled, Lila stood teetering on that brink, eyes locked with the enigmatic king. What choice would gravely alter the course of her life? With her heart racing, Lila felt every nerve in her body awaken, a chaotic storm brewing inside her. Moments stretched, each one heavy with consequences. As she confronted the choice laid before her, the forest hummed with tension, the trees whispering secrets that she could almost grasp, but didn't fully understand. Embrace your birthright, he had said, and the weight of those words settled like lead in her chest. What was this birthright? What darkness lay hidden within her? Her mind raced, swirling like the leaves caught up in the wind, memories of past whispers, a girl marked by a curse. The tales painted her as a monster, but could she be something more, something powerful? What if I refuse? A tremor laced her words, an undeniable edge sparking with defiance. The Alpha King stepped closer, the air thickening around them. You think refusal will grant you freedom? That path leads only to despair. You will always be bound. Would you rather be a pawn in their game, or rise as the queen of your fate? His words seeped into her, igniting a strange mixture of fear and resolve. The weight of her family's betrayal hung heavy, a yoke that had suffocated her existence. Lila had long hungered for control, for choices of her own. But could this shadowy figure truly offer her a way out? Or was he just another part of her nightmare? What will you do if I accept? Her voice trembled, but a flicker of courage made its way through the cracks of her fear. I will show you power, he declared, his tone a heated promise. But understand, my dear Lila, power demands sacrifice. The phrase echoed in her mind, and internally she grappled with the implications. What was she willing to lose? Was she ready to turn her back on the pain that had defined her, stepping into an unknown that promised possibility, but also lurking danger? Before she could respond, the ground beneath them rumbled again. A pulse of energy radiated through the clearing, and shadows shifted, elongating ominously. Shapes began to form in the periphery of her vision, dark silhouettes creeping in on the edges of the moonlight. Whispers began to swirl around her, a cacophony of voices she couldn't decipher but felt knotting her stomach. What is that? Panic seized her throat, the anticipation shifting into something more primal. The Alpha King's expression hardened, the playful smirk giving way to a grimace of resolve. Those drawn to your blood call to you. They sensed the awakening. Awakening? The word twisted her stomach in a knot, half excitement, half fear. Your choice may indeed set into motion forces you do not yet comprehend. He stepped away, the wind causing ripples in the air between them, elongating shadows and deepening the night around them. You must decide now, before the darkness grasps you. Time hung in the air, a fragile thread swaying in a gust. The figures from the shadows began to advance, their movements like a dark tide threatening to engulf her. All her life she had been afraid of her past, of the tales that hunted her, and now of the choice before her. Could she really rise up? Was she capable of wielding power in a world where she had always been seen as weak? In that critical moment, Lila's resolve crumbled into clarity, born from the realization that to remain in the shadows was to let others dictate her fate. She drew a deep breath, her heart racing at the precipice of decision. I will accept, she finally declared, her voice unwavering even as the shadows drew closer. The Alpha King's smile returned, sharp and predatory. Very well. The pact is sealed. Welcome to your true self, Lila. But as his words settled, an icy grip unfurled in Lila's gut. The figures in the shadows surged forward, a collective exhale of darkness that threatened to consume her whole. What had she just unleashed? Lila's heart thundered as the shadows engulfed her, a swirling abyss of darkness and whispers. She felt a surge of energy pulse through her, an ancient power tingling at her fingertips, igniting her senses. It was intoxicating, but the accompanying fear was like ice water coursing through her veins. The figures, shadowy and obscure, began to take shape, their forms flickering like dying embers. Lila squinted into the dark, catching glimpses of eyes glinting with malevolence, mouths twisted into taunting grins. They fed off fear, and she could feel their hunger clawing at her, a tangible taste of terror flooding her senses. Lila, one voice crooned, smooth and haunting, echoing from the depths of the shadows. You've finally chosen. But do you understand the price? She instinctively took a step back, almost colliding with the Alpha King. He loomed like a guardian, a figure of both menace and protection. They are drawn to the choice you've made. To embrace your birthright is to invite them. Her breath quickened. What do you mean? What is this power? She looked at him, searching for answers. Anger and confusion swirled inside her. The whispers you hear are fragments of your lineage. They want to consume your power, to twist it for their own purposes, he said, his voice calm yet filled with urgency. But you can wield it if you allow yourself to step into the darkness. The shadows surged forward again, hissing like 1,000 serpents. Lila's instincts screamed at her to flee, to find sanctuary somewhere safe. But where could she run when the danger lurked just beneath her own skin? Fight them, the Alpha King urged, grabbing her shoulders. His grip was firm, grounding her as the darkness threatened to swallow her whole. You are stronger than you know. Channel your fear. Lila drew from the chaos within, feeling the heat rising in her chest. What was once a flicker of potential ignited into a raging fire. She pushed back against the fear that clawed at her throat, exhaling with a force she didn't know she possessed. Leave me, she shouted, and with that single command, a shockwave rippled through the clearing. The shadows hesitated, recoiling as if struck by lightning. I can push them away, she gasped, realization washing over her. Energy crackled, urging her forward, an undeniable sense of her own power swelling within. The trees responded, leaves rustling in approval. The wind picked up, howling through the branches as if to echo her newfound defiance. But within that inner strength lay a darker hunger. She could feel it thrumming, wild and untamed. The Alpha King regarded her with an intensity that sent a shiver down her spine. Yes, embrace that power, Lila. But remember, balance is essential. It will demand a price. A surge of adrenaline coursed through her, entwined with the fear still clawing at her mind. If she could push back the darkness, could she also control it? The question loomed, heavy and ominous. The figures, stunned, began to regroup, fangs glistening and eyes fixated on her like ravenous wolves at a meat carcass. They wouldn't give up easily. Don't falter, the Alpha King whispered, his voice igniting a spark of focus within her. This is only the beginning. You must command them. In that moment, Lila steeled herself, arms shaking but resolute. I am Lila. The shadows lunged, and for the first time, she felt the tendrils of reality tremble beneath her feet. She could either be devoured or become the beast herself, but as she stood on the brink, embracing her destiny, a chilling laugh erupted from the darkness, one that froze her heart in her chest. Foolish girl. You think you have control? This is just the start of your nightmare. The shadows surged, and an unworldly brightness ignited in Lila's hands, blinding. But in that blinding light, she felt something else awaken. What awaited her in the depths of the shadows? The light pulsated like a heartbeat, fierce and vibrant, illuminating the forest around her in hues of electric blue. It was a radiant fire that fought against the dark. Lila felt the weight of the world shift in her hands, an exhilarating rush mingling with her fear. But the shadows weren't done. They snarled, an orchestra of disdain and hunger, determined to reclaim what she threatened to take. The Alpha King's voice cut through the air, strong and commanding. Focus, Lila. Their feeble tricks won't work on you anymore. She felt the power surge again, wrapping around her like a tight embrace. It was a warmth that scared her as much as it comforted her. Dig deep, she reminded herself, channel your strength. With a defiant roar in her heart, she thrust her hands forward, pushing against the darkness. I am not afraid. The words tore from her throat, raw and genuine, infusing the air with her determination. The shadows froze, caught off guard by her declaration. They hissed, retreating slightly, but it wasn't long before they lunged at her again, malicious claws swiping through the dim light. From the corner of her eye, Lila saw the Alpha King step closer, his body a shield against the onslaught. You have to believe, Lila. Control it. But doubt climbed in her chest. How could she control what felt so foreign, so alive? There was a memory bubbling beneath her calm, the echoed doubts of her parents always reminding her of her weaknesses, of their expectations. She wouldn't be a burden. She couldn't let herself down. I can do this, she shouted, and with that, she pulled from her core, drawing energy like roots from the ground. The shadows circled her, moving rhythmically, and she could sense their anger mingled with confusion at her refusal to submit. They were stronger in numbers, yet something within them recoiled from her fiery resolve. The Alpha King, sensing her struggle, offered a chilling insight. You must know your fear, embrace it. It is part of you, just like this power. Panic flickered across her features. But it's too dark. What if I can't control it? Control is merely a choice, he replied, the certainty in his voice ringing with power. You're not just a vessel for darkness, Lila. You are the storm. With an exhale sharp like glass, she focused, centering on herself and the heartbeat of magic throbbing within. It spiraled into a cone of light expanding in front, casting shadows back as if they feared the radiance. Suddenly, she felt their energy shift, their savagery faltered. Yet just as it seemed she might have the upper hand, the commanding laugh echoed again, sound like thunder, rattling her concentration. You can't escape me, Lila. You think you've found strength? This is merely the glimmer of the storm to come. I will take what's rightfully mine. The ground trembled as the shadows rippled toward her, emboldened by their unseen leader's taunts. Behind her, the Alpha King's stature solidified, a bulwark of power, but even he appeared momentarily shaken. Lila, he called, his voice urgent. We must make a stand. The figure cloaked in shadows emerged from behind the writhing mass, a silhouette of malice and cunning with glowing eyes that captured Lila's gaze. A figure she recognized, someone from her past, someone she had thought lost. Her heart stuttered. No, it can't be, but the darkness in those eyes was undeniable. Reveal yourself, she demanded, her voice quaking, emotions churning within her as the shape stepped into the light. Something within Lila broke. A question loomed heavy above them all, creating a chasm deeper than any abyss. Could she summon the strength to face the truth? Or would it crush her from within? What lay ahead was a revelation that would shatter her world. The figure emerged from the swirling shadows, stepping into the light like a ghost made flesh. Lila's breath caught in her throat as the familiar features crystallized from the depths of darkness. It was her mother, but not the woman she remembered, the one who held her close and whispered promises of dreams fulfilled. No, this was a vision distorted by betrayal and tainted by grief. Mom, is it really you? Lila's voice trembled, barely above a whisper, as hope and horror clawed at her heart. Her mother's eyes glimmered with an unholy mirth, a wicked twist on her once warm smile. Oh, Lila. It's so good to see you again. The words dripped with venom, suffocating the air around them. Why are you here? The question slipped from Lila's lips, each syllable weighted with desperation. I came to retrieve what's mine. You've always been a burden, Lila. Your weakness, your very existence threatened our legacy. The dagger of betrayal sliced deeper with every word. Lila shook her head, refusing to accept this twisted reality. No, you can't mean that. Her mother's laughter echoed through the clearing, harsh and mocking. You have no idea how powerful you truly are. You were destined for this role. The storm you wield isn't just a skill. It's your birthright. But you can never become what you're meant to be because we sold you. You're nothing without our support. A mere puppet of the dark. You sold me? The accusation struck Lila like a thunderclap through the silence, sending shockwaves of betrayal reverberating through her. It was too much to bear. You let them take me? Of course we had no choice, her mother replied, a sense of satisfaction settling over a face that once emanated warmth. You were always infertile, a seed that would not grow. Our family needed a different future. A stronger daughter, one who could carry on the lineage. You were a strain on our name. At those words a primal rage ignited within Lila, fiercer than the electrifying power coursing through her veins. The shadows wavered around her, as if they too sensed the shift. I am not what you say. I'm not worthless. Prove it then, Lila. Prove you're more than a mistake. With that challenge hanging in the air like jagged glass, she felt the ground grow warm beneath her feet, a surge of energy flowing from the earth straight into her core. Glancing at the Alpha King, she saw the approval and urgency in his eyes. It was her moment. Together he growled, as if he understood the call of destiny. Just as she prepared to respond with a wave of power, shadows surged forth, catching the two by surprise. The darkness had awakened, emboldened by her mother's presence. Claws ripped through the air, aiming for her heart. Lila lifted her hands instinctively, channeling every ounce of her newly discovered strength into a shield of light. With tremendous effort, the sphere glimmered around her, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. The shadows recoiled, screeching in fury, but it wouldn't hold forever. She needed more. The shadows thrashed violently, erupting in chaos. Her mother smirked, a dark satisfaction etched on her features. You can't win against your own blood, Lila. You'll always be chained to us. Grief and rage fueled Lila as she dug deeper, pulling from the depths of her heart. I am not defined by you, she screamed, unleashing a blast of energy that made the very air crackle. But the shadows wouldn't back down. The fight roared within her, each clash shaking the world around her. She could sense the echoes of her past blend with her present struggles, the whispers of her parents' betrayals twisting around her consciousness. Suddenly, a blinding light pierced the darkness, illuminating a path through the chaos. From her periphery, she felt the Alpha King moving closer, his presence an anchor amidst the tempest. Lila, don't lose yourself. His voice rang out like a lifeline dancing through the fury. As the shadows lunged again, she faced the chaos head-on, forcing every painful memory, every scar into the energy surging within her. And just as she thought she had a moment to catch her breath, she realized her power was building past the threshold of control. It surged once more, elevating her beyond what she thought possible. The ground shook. The shadows shifted with an unsettled howl, and everything around her blurred into a vortex of light and darkness. Stop! Lila screamed, feeling the weight of the world crashing down. But not before an icy laugh echoed above the storm, chilling her core. You can't escape your fate, Lila. Bridging the light and the dark will come with a price. What was the cost? Doubt slithered in again as she fought against this new nightmare. Would she fulfill the prophecy, or would she become the very monster she feared? The realization hit her like a brick. This fight was only the beginning. The true battle lay ahead, and she was standing on the precipice as the darkness swallowed her whole. One thought echoed through her mind. How could she confront a fate written in the shadows? The storm raged on. The chaos swirled, a tempest of shadows threatening to consume everything in its path. Lila stood at the edge of the abyss, heart pounding like a war drum. Her mother's evil laughter echoed in the recesses of her mind, taunting her, daring her to defy fate. With every ounce of strength, she pushed against the darkness. It clawed at her, wrapping around her limbs, trying to pull her down, but she fought back furiously. I'm not a pawn, she screamed, her voice rising above the din. But you are. Her mother's voice was silky smooth, a venomous syrup that dripped with confidence. You think you can change what's been decreed? You are nothing without me. No, Lila shouted, the ground beneath her feet trembling as a surge of energy burst forth. The sphere of light around her grew brighter, shimmering with the hope she felt deep within her bones, a hope that flickered, but refused to extinguish. She felt the Alpha King's presence beside her, a steadfast wall against the encroaching fog. "We are stronger together, Lila. Use the bond." His steady gaze anchored her to the present, igniting the spark of courage within her. The shadows howled in frustration, as if sensing her determination. Lila's heart raced. Together she murmured, channeling every memory, every shred of pain into a whirlwind of raw power. The energy twisted and turned around her, mixing with the force he offered, pulling from the depths of her rage and her past. Suddenly, the shadows erupted into a frenzy, changing tactics as they surged toward the Alpha King. "No!" Lila cried, her heart leaping into her throat. "Don't!" With swift precision he spun around, slicing through the darkness with a primal roar. But for every shadow he struck down, another clawed its way to her. A burning desperation washed over her. If she didn't act now, they would be lost. In that moment of clarity, she let go of all her fears of her mother, of the shadows, of her own worth, and focused solely on the light. It flared bright, golden and fierce, illuminating the heart of the storm. "Together," she echoed, as an explosion of radiant power erupted from her hands, washing over the darkness like the dawn after an endless night. The shadows screeched, retreating for the briefest moment, but Lila felt the weight of their return. Just as the darkness pushed back, crashing against her light, she saw it an opening. Not just in the physical realm but in the essence of her being. "I am more than a mistake," she roared, summoning the core of her spirit. The ground beneath them shook violently. Lila felt the energy surge through her veins, a wild river breaking free of a dam. The shield of light morphed, becoming a torrent of energy that spiraled like a cyclone, drawing dark forces into its center. Each shadow swallowed by her power intensified the pulse of her heart. At that moment, she realized that her past pain was not a curse but a weapon. She and the Alpha King stood united, unwavering against the tidal wave of shadows. "Finish this," he shouted, thrusting his arm toward the darkness. Lila understood then. She had something the darkness could never take from her: her will to fight, her desire to shatter the chains of her family's betrayal. In an instant she steeled herself against the tide. "One final push," she whispered softly to herself. "This is my destiny." As she launched her energy, a blinding light burst forth. It tore through the shadows, illuminating everything in a brilliant flash. The cacophony of screams and howls replaced with an eerie silence. But after the silence, something shifted. An ominous presence lingered, lurking in the fringes where the light faded. "What is happening?" Lila whispered, dread creeping in as the air thickened with fear and uncertainty. And the distance, a figure materialized from the remnants of darkness. Its eyes glinted like sharp blades, a knowing smile twisting across its lips. "Did you think it was over?" It hissed, the words hauntingly familiar. Lila's heart dropped as she took a step back. The true challenge was yet to reveal itself. A darkness she had no clue awaited her. "Who are you?" she demanded, every ounce of defiance flashing in her gaze. "Your true legacy," it replied, voice thick with malice, as the shadows danced eagerly around Diane. That moment, as the wind howled ominously around her, she realized the battle was far from over. The shadows whispered promises of a darker fate yet to come. "Are you ready to embrace your true heritage, Lila?" it asked, smirk widening, and Lila felt the icy grip of dread and determination collide within her. As dread unraveled around her, one thought echoed in her mind. Could she rise against a legacy she never wanted? A cold shiver ran down Lila's spine as the figure stepped closer. It was an embodiment of despair, shrouded in swirling darkness that cloaked its form like a funeral shroud. The unsettling grin deepened, revealing teeth that sparkled with wicked glee. "Your mother's shadow is nothing compared to what you now face," it said, every word carefully laced with venom. Each syllable slithered into her ears, igniting a panic that bubbled just beneath the surface. "I am the legacy she feared. I hold her secrets, the ones that bind you both." Lila's fingers trembled. Pain and anger twisted in her gut like a coiled snake. "I won't let you manipulate me," she shouted, forcing herself to stand tall. Her voice quivered, but she would not yield to the terror that threatened to drown her spirit. "Ah," the figure purred, "but the truth will always find its way to the light, won't it? Did she never share with you the real reason behind your existence?" All that pain, the heartbreak that wasn't destiny, sweetheart. It was a bargain. Lila's breath hitched. A bargain? The words echoed in her mind, a frigid whisper of betrayal. Her mother had a history shadowed in secrets, she always felt it, lurking behind the smiles and tales of glory. But a bargain? What could that mean for her life? Your true power lies not in light, but in darkness. Embrace it, Lila. You are destined to rise with me. The figure's eyes gleamed as shadows twisted around its form, forming shapes that danced grotesquely at the edges of her vision. No. The word erupted from her like a gunshot, shattering the oppressive silence. I am not that monster. The Alpha King's presence surged beside her, a radiant force against the suffocating dark. Focus, Lila, he urged, his voice steady. Yet doubt gnawed at her resolve. She couldn't deny the fission of an unknown power humming beneath her skin, an allure that promised strength wrapped in shadows. You struggle against what you are. The figure's voice dripped with compelling allure. Power is freedom, and you are shackled by your ideals. Let go. Be with me. It approached, extending a palm, beckoning her to take it. As the shadows shifted uneasily, Lila felt the pressure of a choice weighing heavily in her heart. She had fought so hard to escape her mother's chains, but had her fight only added links to her own? The Alpha King's grip on her arm tightened. She felt his warmth, a contrast to the dark fingers of the figure. Don't listen to it, Lila. You're stronger than your past. Remember why you fight. Suddenly, with a fierce determination, Lila pulled away from the king, stepping toward the figure. What do you want from me? She demanded, her voice unwavering. Why me? Simplicity, it replied, its smile widening like a black hole threatening to consume her. You are the bridge between realms. With your birthright, we will reshape the world. Together, we can harness the shadows in ways your mother never could. She felt a tumult of emotions swirling within her, questioning everything she believed. The truth gnawed at her like a hungry wolf. Was this how her life had been, trapped in a cycle of manipulation? I refuse, she snapped, heart racing, defiance surging in her veins. I won't let your darkness dictate my fate. The figure's expression faltered, eyes narrowing. Shadows hissed around it, growing more restless. Then prepare to face the wounded legacy you inherited. This is merely the beginning. A deafening roar filled the air as the shadows exploded outwards, spiraling into an inferno of chaos that engulfed her surroundings. The ground trembled violently beneath her feet, and she struggled to maintain her balance. Lila, hold on. The Alpha King's voice pierced through the clamor, but the figure's darkness surged, crashing upon her like a tidal wave as the shadows swallowed her whole, despair clawing at her mind. One powerful thought flickered through her chaotic thoughts. What if the darkness was not just a foe but part of her very soul? In the depths of despair, she clung to something, an ember of hope shimmering just beneath the surface. Something told her this wasn't the end, but would she be strong enough to harness what lay within her? Or would she fall prey to the very legacy she sought to escape? Lila felt herself being pulled down, consumed by the shadows that wrapped around her like cold tendrils. Panic clawed at her insides as the darkness tightened its grip, threatening to suffocate her. Moments stretched into an eternity, her heart racing as she gasped for air she couldn't find. But then, something inside her flickered to life. A heat surged through her veins, not just any warmth, but a ferocious fire that burned against the chill. With sheer willpower she fought back, pushing her hands against the darkness, willing it to yield. The air crackled, and for a brief flash she saw glimpses of the figure wavering. Fight it, Lila. The Alpha King's voice cut through the chaos, wrapping around her like lifeline. You can't let it take you. With a scream mingled with rage and desperation, she slammed her palm forward, feeling an unfamiliar energy buzzing at her fingertips. The shadows recoiled, hissing as if burned. She was surprised to find herself smiling, an odd sense of empowerment igniting within her. Embrace your power, the figure cried, venom dripping from its voice as it struggled to regain control, but Lila was past the point of retreat. The darkness swirled wildly, and suddenly it shattered like glass shards spiraling outwards. She stepped through the lingering fragments, her breathing heavy yet steadier than before. Standing in the eye of the storm, she felt untethered from fear. You are just like her. The figure snarled, its form coiling angrily. You think you can change your fate, but you don't even know the truth. Your mother, stop. Lila shouted, her voice resonating with a power she didn't fully understand. I don't need to hear another word about her. I will not be defined by her past or yours. With those words she summoned that newfound strength, channeling the power swirling within her like a tempest. Blinding light burst from her, radiating outwards and illuminating the dark corners of the space. What are you? The figure stumbled back, its composure faltering as the shadows began to disperse under her brilliance. I am who I choose to be, Lila declared, the echoes of her voice mingling with the crackling energy around her. And I'm done with the lies. But even as she spoke, she sensed something bigger was brewing. The air thickened with anticipation, and the Alpha King stood nearby, his expression a mix of awe and concern. You've unleashed something remarkable, he said slowly, awe creeping into his tone. But this isn't over. The truth about your mother, it's more dangerous than we imagined. Her heart sank as he spoke. What do you mean? He stepped closer, the shadows retreating but still whispering ominously around. There are forces at play that don't want you to uncover the full reality. They will come for you. They will stop at nothing. Chilled, Lila's heartbeat quickened. The weight of his implications pressed down on her chest, suffocating but unavoidable. What do they want? To keep you in the dark, he answered, eyes burning with intensity. To prove that you are nothing without her legacy, to strip you of the very power you just uncovered. As she processed his words, a sudden tremor rippled through the ground beneath them, and Lila felt a dreadful presence approaching. The shadows snarled back, swirling like a wild beast sensing prey nearby. Get ready, Lila, the Alpha King warned. They're not just coming for you now. Lila clenched her hands into fists, determination stark on her face. They had come to take her down, but she'd swear it would be a fight they wouldn't forget. What's your next move? She asked, her voice steady. But before he could answer, the ground split, revealing a gaping void filled with ominous whispers, drawing her in with a chilling call. She hadn't merely summoned a power. She had opened doors to entities that her mother had desperately tried to keep at bay. And the figure, still lurking in the shadows, chuckled darkly. You think you can play with forces beyond comprehension? Welcome to your inheritance. Lila, as darkness coiled again around the edges, she felt the stark reality swallow her life, her choices, even her secrets teetered on the edge. Would she embrace the darkness she had fought so hard against, or would she push further into her own truth? The fray had just begun. The storm had torn through the landscape, leaving chaos in its wake, but as dawn broke, a strange calm settled over the clearing. Lila stood in the aftermath, eyes narrowed against the light that broke through the trees, casting fractured shadows on the ground below. The air felt charged, thick with the remnants of power she had unleashed. Each breath tasted like victory, yet tinged with fear. The battle had not merely been against the shadows, but against her very essence. With the shadows retreating for now, she turned to the Alpha King, who stood solemnly beside her. His gaze held an intensity that pierced through her. You did it, Lila. You pushed back the darkness, your darkness, he stated, a hint of admiration woven through his words. But it's not over, she replied, the weight of imminent threats hanging heavy in her voice. What do we do now? The king exhaled slowly, his eyes surveying the forest, as if the trees held answers. More will come. They want what you've awakened. Your family cannot keep pretending you don't exist, especially now that you've stood against them. It's time you learned the full truth about your powers and your past. Lila nodded, knowing that this was her moment to break free from the chains of myth and family legacy. Then let us find it. I want to know everything. Around them the forest whispered, the sounds of nature returning as if it had been holding its breath. She could feel the magic pulsating, wrapping around her in a familiar embrace. She had tasted the darkness but had risen to the light that was her truth now. As they delved deeper into the woods, the air shifted, and Lila sensed remnants of the shadows still clawing, lurking just beyond her reach. Every rustle of leaves felt like a reminder that this journey was far from over. They came upon a clearing bathed in golden light. At its center stood a massive tree, gnarled and ancient, its roots sprawling like veins across the ground. Lila felt an overwhelming urge to approach it. The tree called to her, resonating with her very being. This is the Heartwood, the Alpha King explained, stepping beside her. An ancient source of power that feeds off the lineage of those who have come before. You are tied to it just as your mother was. A lump rose in Lila's throat, but she swallowed hard. Does it hold the secrets? Yes, all of them. But it requires you to confront what you fear most, he replied, his gaze steady. You must delve into the past to claim your rightful place in the future. Steeling herself, Lila reached out to touch the rough bark of the tree. As her fingers made contact, visions flashed before her, a swirl of memories not her own. The weight of ancestral sorrow, the betrayals, and ultimately the truth. Lila gasped as the images unfurled, revealing her mother's sacrifices and bitter choices, the struggles against the shadows, and the legacy that had been deemed to be a curse. Her mother had been trapped, just as she had been, but Lila had a choice. I will not be crushed by this, Lila whispered, determination coursing through her. Suddenly, a flash of darkness pulsed through the air, swirling into a form that made her heart race, a doppelganger cloaked in shadow, an embodiment of everything Lila feared. You think you can outshine me? The figure's voice slithered into her mind, dripping with malice. You are my reflection. You are bound to this darkness. Lila drew herself tall. No, I define my own path. You are not me. She closed her eyes, drawing strength from the heartwood, feeling its ancient energy burst alive within her, thrumming with every heartbeat. Enough. Lila thrust her hand forward, channeling her power into the doppelganger. The light exploded from her fingertips, illuminating the shadows and forcing them back. I am the storm. I control my destiny. In that moment, the dark figure shrieked as light engulfed it, disintegrating into wisps of shadow. As the last wisp faded, Lila breathed a heavy sigh of relief, her spirit soaring with newfound autonomy. The Alpha King stepped closer, pride shining in his eyes. You faced your greatest fear and emerged victorious. This is just the beginning, Lila. You've embraced a power greater than bloodlines, a force that binds your history, but allows you to break free from its chains. As the sunlight poured through the trees, Lila felt an overwhelming sense of liberation. This was her story now, a powerful legacy not defined by her past but shaped by her own will. I'm ready for whatever comes next, she declared, her heart steady. I'll fight for those who are still lost, and I won't let their legacy eat away at me. With a fierce sense of purpose, they walked back into the forest, side by side, ready to face whatever shadows awaited them. And as they ventured forth into the unknown, the whispers of the past melted into a symphony of strength, a sound of triumph echoing through the trees. But it was not just her story anymore. It was the dawn of a new era, forged by light and darkness intertwined. Don't you dare miss any more of this epic adventure unfolding. Make sure you subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now, and show your support for the journey ahead. We need your engagement to help feed the algorithm, and push these tales further into the universe. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. What did you think of Lila's choices, and where do you think her path will lead next? And share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment for us to grow this community together. Don't wait even one more second to share and show your support. True fans know we build this adventure together.